Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews. I am HorrorBoy45, aka Nate Murphy the Explorer 4 here. Welcome back to some more reviews. And today we'll be reviewing the Blair Witch films because of the new movie coming out in, I think, September. So, yeah, I'm going to be reviewing today, I'm going to be reviewing both these movies today. I'll be reviewing the Blair Witch Project, which I really enjoy, and Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which I haven't seen in a while. I'm gonna have to rewatch it probably after this review or something, because I haven't seen it in a while and I don't want to review it and not remember much. But I do remember hating the movie. I do remember that. But what's sad is that you open this up, and even though this movie completely sucks, you get a DVD plus CD where you pretty much you get one side is the movie and one side is the CD, which I've listened to the music of the movie. I actually don't mind the music. I think it's actually a pretty haunting, different score that you would hear from a horror film. And of course, as being a bad sequel, of course I would get a booklet. You can open it up. There's pictures inside of it, which it's kind of falling apart. But yeah, you open it up, you get really nice pictures and stuff. And of course you do. Kind of get you guys a little bit more closer look. You guys can see it right there. Get a couple pictures in there. Of course I would get pictures of the bad movie, but because pretty much it's falling apart though. But you still do get like a lot of pictures in there, and here's the DVD index, chapter index. In the back of it, some other great DVD titles from Arts and Home Entertainment. A lot of movies in the back of here as well. But of course I'd get a booklet for the bad movie. Of course I'd get a booklet for the horrible movie, because I don't remember liking this movie at all. But of course you get this other booklet called Blair Witch Crafts. If you guys can see it right there. Blair Witch Crafts. You pretty much open it up and you got necklaces, and you get, it's pretty old. I don't think you can do this anymore, but I'm sure this came out back in like 2001 from the date on here. So yeah, 2001. So I'm pretty sure you still can't do this, but you open it up and you can see that's the video game. No, that's the books actually. I think that's the books. I think these are books, right? Yeah, books. You get Blair Witch books in there. You got Blood Nightmare. It's called the Blair Witch Files. The Drowning Ghost, The Witch's Daughter, The Death Card, and The Dark Room. So, and of course, like I showed you guys can get like necklaces and hats. They got like pins and candles and keychains. I mean, it's a really cool thing to get. But it's just, and also, whenever I do get a chance, I do want to play these. This, of course, is the Blair Witch video games. Part 1 is called Rust and Par. Part 2 is called Legend of Coffin Rock. And I don't know if at the time they had a Part 3, but there's a Volume 3 called The Legend of L.A. Kedward, I believe. And I've seen the full gameplays of both these games, the first 2 games, and they look really good. The third game, so far from what I've seen, it's not really looking the best, but it looks okay at best. But these two, from what I've seen from the gameplays, are great. But like I said, you get some really cool games in here. It actually tells you some of the backstory from the games, or tells you a little bit of the plot. Rust and Par, the Blair Witch game, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and of course the Blair Witch 2 soundtrack. And you get some other stuff in here. You got the Massacre of the Burkittsville 7, the Blair Witch Legacy. You get that, it's a book in there. You got that, and you got some stuff over here talking about the Curse of Blair Witch, Paradise Lost, and the Blair Witch Project. And I do think that this DVD of the original movie, the first Blair Witch Project, it does have the feature with the Curse of Blair Witch. Yeah, it does. It does. But yeah, and on the back of it, you can also get cards. You know, pretty cool. But of course, you'd get this with the freaking crappy movie. Of course, you would get the freaking crappy movie. Of course, you get that book with the crappy movie. But I just don't remember liking Blair Witch 2. I remember finding it very goofy, very stupid, very silly. A sequel that was very rushed came out the very next year. It seemed like it was direct to video, but I don't think it was. But it came out in 2000. But it seemed like it was direct to video, but I don't think it was. I think it went to theaters, but it just seems low budget. A lot of crappy stuff in it, unlikable characters, horrible acting. But I have to watch it again, so I don't remember the entire movie. But yeah, I do remember it being very bad. Written by Joel Berlinger, which only made documentaries. I'm like, why would you give this guy a sequel to Blair Witch? I don't understand. But I do understand that artisan pretty much got involved in the sequel and changed a lot of things. But still, why you needed a sequel to Blair Witch? I don't know. You really didn't need a sequel. But I'll do a rant on this most likely, probably later on today. But the movie I'll be talking about today in a second will be Blair Witch Project. Now, today I've been pretty much watching a lot of I've got a whole stack of DVDs over there, movies I haven't seen yet. Movies such as I started watching Sinister 2. If you guys are following me on Twitter, I did a Twitter post on that. But I started watching Sinister 2, and then I sort of drifted away from it, and I really started falling asleep. So I have to rewatch that movie again. And I got movies there such as White Noise and White Noise 2, Open Water 2. Children Shouldn't Play a Dead Thing, Salem's Lot, because I haven't seen it in a long time. Basically, today I'm watching a lot of movies that I haven't seen in a long time or haven't seen at all. So, yeah, and also I picked up this 4-pack, which I don't think I did a video where I showed this, but if you guys are following me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I did posts on this, but picked up this 4-movie collection, which is also movies I've been watching lately. I haven't seen The Seventh Sign yet, or Christine yet, but I did see The Blob, and I already knew about Fright Night. I seen Fright Night on Netflix and thought it was great. But The Blob is a great horror film. I have literally almost no problems with it, other than the CGI, and I didn't really mind. I didn't really care for the score. But The Blob, definitely a great horror film. Really enjoyed it. I actually haven't seen Christine yet, but I'm actually going to watch it probably either after this review or after I'm done watching Blair Witch 2. I'm not sure on that, but I'll definitely give it a watch probably tonight. But I heard that Christine's a classic. Fright Night is a great vampire film. A lot of fun. Fright Night. And The Seventh Sign with Demi Moore I haven't seen yet. But on the back of here it says that the story behind it is Demi Moore electrifies a young woman who must prevent her unborn baby from playing an ominous role in the coming of the end of the world. And directed by Carl Schurz, and it's rated R. So, and it came out in 1988. So I don't know much about it, but I'll definitely give it a watch. But I haven't seen The Seventh Sign yet. But Fright Night and The Blob, both great horror movies. Of course, one of the discs is missing because I have one of them in my PlayStation, about to watch it. But pretty cool discs. See right there, it's a little bit of a reflected disc, but see there's a Fright Night and The Seventh Sign on one disc, and The Blob and Christine the other disc. But it's actually a 4-pack worth buying. I've been seeing it all over Amazon, all over eBay, and wanted to pick it up for a while, and I couldn't wait to pick it up. But yeah, so if you guys ever see this 4-pack, pick it up. It's got some really good movies on it. And also because I figured, well, I'm getting The Blob, Christine, and Fright Night in the same pack. Also, Seventh Sign I'm interested in seeing, so I was like, heck yeah, and it was only like $4, $5, something like $4 or $5, so it was very, very cheap, but definitely a great buy. If you guys see this anywhere, definitely pick it up. It's a great pack, has some really good movies in there. But yeah, so I figured I'd show this because I haven't showed it in another video. I don't think I've shown another video. But I picked it up very recently, like last week or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember. But yeah, I just figured I'd show it because I never showed it in another review or video. I don't think I have, but yeah, 4-pack with The Blob, Christine, Fright Night, and The Seventh Sign. Pretty cool. And on to the movie. I know it's well, actually 10 minutes in now. But I haven't talked about the movie. I apologize. But Blair Witch Project is one of those very famous, very infamous movies that I'm sure that most people know about. And getting to my review of the Blair Witch Project, which came out in 1999, gets a 6.4 on IMDb. And as you guys can see, with all the critics on the back of it, some saying it's scary as hell, genuinely frightening, one of the creepiest films since The Exorcist, chills you right to the core. Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up, creative, inventive, and ingenious. And the movie, of course, has a very, very split reaction. Either this movie is viewed as one of the most terrifying and horrifying films ever made, or it's viewed as just kids in the woods screaming and sticks and rocks. Most people view it as, well, it's not really scary because all it is sticks and rocks and people running in the woods. But I really enjoy the movie. I wouldn't say it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, but I can definitely say it's definitely a creepy idea. It's definitely got some creepy scenes. But is it one of the most scariest movies I've ever seen? No, but it definitely does get pretty creepy at times. But I enjoy the movie. I don't understand why everybody hates it. There are fans out there, I do know that Matt from Brash Life, he likes the movie. I've seen a couple of reviews where people like the movie. But also the movie gets said that it's not scary. All it is people running, screaming in the woods. I think it's much more, there's much more to it than that. There's much more of a deeper meaning behind it than that. And you had countless parodies of it. The parody in Scary Movie. You had that one called The Bogus Witch Project, which I do believe Matt talked about in his review. Lot of parodies of this movie. And the story is extremely simple. You got three filmmakers, Joshua Leonard, Michael Williams, Heather Donahue, and Joshua Leonard. And that's pretty much their real names in real life as well. Of course, Joshua Leonard would go on to be in Hatchet, did a cameo in Hatchet. And basically, they go out to the woods to shoot a documentary about the Blair Witch Project. Or not the Blair Witch Project, but they shoot a documentary about the Blair Witch entitled The Blair Witch Project. So I got that mixed up, my bad, guys. But they pretty much go out into the woods of Burkittsville, Maryland, to shoot a documentary about the Blair Witch. And it pretty much follows, I believe it was 1994. Yeah, like on the back of here it says, in October 1994, three student filmmakers appeared in the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland, while shooting a documentary. A year later, their footage was found. And definitely a very memorable thing. You see all over the trailers, all over the posters, beginning of the movie. Very, very memorable line. Very, very memorable. But the movies are directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, which Daniel Myrick, of course, would go on to make a couple other movies. I do believe he's made a couple other movies. As far as directing goes, he directed The Objective, but really that's the only other movie that he's made, I think. If I'm not mistaken, that was the only one that he directed. But he was the writer on the Blair Witch Project, but he was also, I guess, one of the directors of the Blair Witch Project. But as far as directing goes, he directed the Strand, Believers, Solstice, and he's in post-production of Under the Bed. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But Eduardo Sanchez would go on to direct. I can see his directing filmography list here on IMDb. But he has gone to direct Exists, Lovely Molly. He directed a segment in VHS 2, Ride in the Park, which is really well done. Seventh Mood, Altered, and Griffin's Ghost, Cloudland, From Dusk Dawn, the series. supernatural, intruders, a lot of stuff. But of course, the Blair Witch Project being their most famous movie, hands down. And when this movie came out, it was just an unbelievable amount of success and critical acclaim, and some critics saying how it wasn't scary, some saying how it was scary. Some people said that they enjoyed it, some people say they don't enjoy it, but I enjoy it. But of course, this movie came out. I believe it only had a budget of. Trying to see here. The budget to this movie was, if I can find it on IMDb, it's 60. Oh yeah, the budget is $60,000. Yeah, $60,000 made this movie, and then it grossed out $140 million in the U.S. So $60,000, and it grossed out $140 million in the U.S. 140 million November. Yeah, 140 million in the U.S. I want to see how much it made worldwide. But the worldwide was probably, trying to see the worldwide. But I know that over in the UK, 14 million. I'm not really seeing like the total amount of money it made, but I do know that opening weekend it made 29 million. It already made over its budget, and then it grossed out the USA 140 million. So it just shows that you can use a low budget and make it, a very successful horror film. And of course, when this came out, you had just the Blair Witch craze. You had video games. You had a sequel. You had, like I showed you guys in that booklet, you had keychains, necklaces, CDs. This has a soundtrack, I think, that came out on CD. Lot of stuff. And I believe The Curse of the Blair Witch came out either before or after the movie's release to sort of say that, oh, this really happened, sort of a fake documentary saying how these three really did disappear. They really didn't. But when this movie came out, it was very successful. The marketing campaign, I remember seeing the marketing on a couple other movies I've seen on VHS and stuff like that. Like, I do remember when I had the VHS, the Blair Witch Project, which is what I originally seen it on. There was like 5 teasers on the VHS of the movie that I was watching, so it was kind of crazy. But pretty cool poster as well on the DVD. Not really a lot of features. You get a commentary. You get teasers and trailers. Curse of the Blair Witch. Production notes. Cast and crew information. And that's pretty much it. But the movie, getting to the actual, plot and stuff, or the details of what I like the movie is extremely realistic and very raw, and I really do think they handled that really well. It's one of those found footage movies that is sort of just very, very realistic. Because, other found footage movies were not really that realistic, but this one was extremely realistic because even though you're dealing with the witch, they handled it very professionally. They handled it in a very realistic way. The way the movie's shot, of course, with the found footage angle, was very well done. It felt very raw and real. The characters, Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Michael Williams, did a really good job. Although I would say, though, that Heather Donahue, sometimes her acting can get a little over the top, especially during this scene, when there's like boogers and snot, and it was just a little too much. But, I do get she's supposed to be upset, she's supposed to be sad, I do see that. And also, sometimes when she freaks out, it kind of just felt over the top. Especially the ending when she's yelling, Mike! Mike! I'm just like, oh my gosh. But, for the most part, good acting. For the most part, it was decent acting. But I do think the movie has a great atmosphere of the woods. 3 likable characters. All 3 of their acting was pretty good. Except for Heather Donahue, her acting got kind of a little bit over top. But overall, really good performance by the 3 cast members. And I like the idea behind it. I like the story behind it of the Blair Witch. Definitely very interesting. And of course, this is considered the first found footage movie. After this movie came out, you had Chernobyl Diaries, Paranormal Activity franchise, Quarantine, Wreck. Trying to look over if I can see any other found footage movies. I don't really own a lot of found footage movies, but you had Cloverfield, um, a lot of found footage movies. And I don't know, Unfriended would be considered a found footage because I guess it'd be considered found footage through webcams and stuff. But Unfriended, As Above, So Below. Really enjoy As Above, So Below and Unfriended. But I don't really like a lot of the found footage movies. Like Quarantine's just okay. Wreck I like a lot more than Quarantine. Chernobyl Diaries I haven't seen yet. Frankenstein's Army, which I did see, was actually pretty decent. But the movie is extremely creepy at times. Although I wouldn't say it's one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen, but I can definitely say that it does get creepy at times, especially during some scenes, especially during the scenes where they're in the tent and they're hearing noises outside. They're hearing rocks and stuff, and other people are like, well, it's very simple. All you gotta do is just throw rocks. But I thought it worked very effectively in this movie. And, of course, they did a good job with the disc as well. But, yeah, so the scenes that involved them inside the tent and hearing noises was very creepy. Even though people say, well, it's so simple, anybody could do it. Yeah, but it works because they're not seeing these things. They're hearing them. They hear their friend Joshua Leonard whenever he gets basically kidnapped and basically disappears. You don't see him again. At nighttime, you hear him like screaming help and screaming for his friends to help him. And I thought that it was very effective the way that it was done. And it was very creepy and very scary. The creepiest part of the movie is when they go into the house because it really does look like an abandoned house. They're walking through. There's like little kids' handprints on the walls, and they're seeing all kinds of just weird images on they're just not really weird images, but seeing like broken down walls, crashed in ceilings. It's basically just a huge abandoned house in the middle of the woods, and it was extremely creepy. And just the idea of being trapped in the woods and not being able to escape. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you cannot get out. These people, they walk for I think they said 16 hours, I believe, but they didn't get anywhere. It's very creepy the way that it was done. But I like the idea that they just sort of can't escape these woods no matter what they do. That's a very creepy idea. Also, I really enjoyed how, that one scene I gotta mention real quick, where there's kids outside their tent, and you're hearing these little kids laughing and stuff like that, and they're just shaking the tent, and they're running. You see a giant stick figure. Also, these are very creepy. They sort of walk through the forest, and they come across a large collection of these sort of stick figures, and they're very creepy. They're made pretty much this logo right here, which try to get that right there. That logo sort of it's been all over. You see on the sequel, see it right there, sequel. The stick figures have sort of become, the logo of the movie, but they look like that, and they're hanging in the trees. Very, very creepy, and just a very also fast-paced movie. But it's not a perfect movie. I do enjoy it. I enjoyed the beginning of the movie when they're interviewing people and they find about, Coffin Rock, and, they're getting ready to go out into the woods. You got some really good character moments. There's a scene where, pretty much, she's like, I gotta take a shot. And pretty much Mike goes, oh, you can't do that. She's like, at this point, I freaking have to. It's a fun scene. And, you got a lot of scenes where just really good character moments, really funny dialogue, really, really entertaining dialogue, and really, really good, chemistry between the characters, and they're getting food, they're getting their supplies to get ready to go out in the woods, they're interviewing people, finding out about, how, there's a Mary Brown character. This guy goes well, she's kind of crazy, and they go, how does the town view her? Oh, crazy. It was funny. And then they go visit Mary Brown, and she talks about the Blair Witch, describes her as a very hairy character. And they're just interviewing people. They interview these guys who are fishing, and they talk about how there's this like little kid who's seen the witch, and her feet never touched the ground or something like that. And it was just very, very, good beginning of the movie, building up the story, building up the characters, and building up to get into the woods. Very, very well done. And I like the idea that there's one camera that was color, and there's another camera where it's black and white and grainy. You don't hear audio. It's very creepy. And I like the idea of sort of these kids going out into the woods and filming a documentary about the Blair Witch. Very well done. And it's such a simple idea, and when you look at it, there's like very little blood, not really any gore. There's only like maybe one bloody scene, and that was when they find like the teeth in the bag and stuff like that. Because when Josh goes missing, they hear him like screaming at night, and it's a very, very creepy scene, and you feel very, very sad for these characters because they're hearing their best friend screaming for his life and screaming in pain and agony, and it's a very sad scene. But the next day, they get like a pile of sticks that make sort of a package, and they open up, there's teeth inside of it, and that's probably the only bloody scene in the movie. But it's just a very simple idea, but it just works in my opinion. When I watch this movie, I feel like it works a lot. It works very well, and I think it's a simple plot, but it works extremely well. It's very basic. They interview people at the beginning of the movie. They go into the woods. They realize they're lost. The breakdown, the moment when pretty much everything goes into madness. They're freaking out. They don't have any food. They're walking in circles. It's a very, very emotional part of the movie where they're just breaking down. They're giving up. They're not giving up, but they're pretty much slipping into madness because they can't escape. There's no food. There's hardly any water. They keep crossing the same stream, walking by some of the same things. The woods is playing tricks on them. It's very, very emotional and sad. It's very, very emotional part of the movie because you're realizing these characters, they can't get out. And they got that part. Joshua Leonard gets disappears. And then they end up finding the house. They go down in the basement. And this is what my problem was. They get to the house, but nothing happens. They get there. Mike walks upstairs, and then he goes downstairs. Heather's following him as well. And then they run downstairs. Well, Mike does, and he just drops the camera. And then she goes downstairs, and when she sees a very creepy image where Mike is in the corner, and then she just drops the camera. That's the end of the movie. I get it. It's supposed to be haunting. It's supposed to be chilling, but I don't know. I just wish there was more of like something that would happen. Maybe they did find Josh. Maybe they was getting chased by something. And I do get it that if you would see the witch, it would be extremely silly because it's a freaking witch. And also if you see it, I agree with Matt on this. If you would see the witch, you would automatically know it was fake. And another one of the things that is very infamous about this movie is that a lot of people thought it was real. And it's not real. It is a fake thing. It's a movie. But when I first seen this, of course, back when I was like 8 or 9, I didn't know that about the whole Hollywood stuff. But when I first seen this, I thought it was real. Because what happened was my dad was talking about the Blair Witch Project one day, and I was like, "What's that movie?" He's like, "You haven't seen Blair Witch Project?" I'm like, "No." So he handed me an old VHS tape, and I sat down and watched it, and I got creeped out, and I was like, "Is this real?" And he's like, of course, at first my dad was like, "Well, yeah, it is real," and then of course he knew it wasn't real, but he wanted to freak me out. And then of course later on he's like, "No, Nate, it's just a movie." I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness," because I thought it was real. That's how realistic the movie is. And when you don't see anything, that's what helps it be raw and real. And I do agree with Matt on that point. And I do wish though there would have been more happening. There's a lot of scenes that don't really have much but dialogue. The middle part of the movie where the characters start to break down, they sort of slip into madness, but it's very emotional. but not much is going on. It's just like they find a package with teeth, which is very creepy. But then, like after that, you got talking. You got this scene, which I thought was a little bit over the top. She got snot and spit, and it was just a little bit over the top. But not a lot happened. I mean, you counted up. There's noises, and towards the beginning of the movie when they get inside the woods, you hear like rocks and stuff like that. Talking, and then Josh goes missing. Talking. Then Josh is heard one night talking. Josh is heard the next night. That's when they go out to the house. They go in the house. They go down in the basement, and that's the end of the movie. I just thought if they would have like found Josh, or they would have found something. They didn't find anything, but they just went down in the basement, and the camera just drops at the end of the movie. I was like, really? You can't do anything else? But the movie overall, there's no arguing about the impact on horror it's had with the found footage genre, the success of the movie, the simplicity of the movie, but yet it's still very scary, very creepy, and I would definitely say it's a great horror film. It's not my favorite horror film. It's not like one of my favorite horror films of all time, or the scariest movie I've ever seen, but I really enjoy it. I definitely do think it's a good movie. I just wish that there would have been more going on, and also that Hell Down in Houston kind of got a little bit over the top. But overall, I enjoy the Blair Witch Project. I think it's really well made, and it's a good movie. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review on the Blair Witch Project, and I will see you guys on the next review for Blair Witch Project, well, for Blair Witch 2, Bookshot Blair Witch 2. But anyway, thanks for watching the review, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next review. Bye, guys.